So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 continues Phase 3 in the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe, and is the long-anticipated sequel to its much-loved predecessor of the same name. Initially appearing very different to the other MCU films, as they practically have an entire universe of their own anyway, the first caught everyone by surprise, with its awesome action sequences and exciting thrills, followed by its supply of humour. The result of the film's success came the immediate announcement of the sequel. So how does Volume 2 compare? But also, for that matter, how much does it differ? The first one ticked pretty much all the basic boxes of what constitutes an exciting superhero film. The sequel had fairly big shoes to fill, so how would it live up to that expectation? In some ways they're both different, as the MCU timeline between the two films have expanded, with the release of Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America Civil War, and Doctor Strange. Things are changing, more stories are being told, and there are characters beyond that world, namely among the Guardians, that we still need to be fully introduced to. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the latest step to discovering how all the pieces of this growing universe and all of its characters come together, but despite that it still has a lot to deliver, being a sequel to such a big hit. Volume 2 takes a slightly different direction to the first film, being that it is more emotional, through which there is more perspective in building closer relationships. It follows with more sensitive themes such as choice and sacrifice. Many superhero films follow by this these days, but Guardians 2 utilises it in a way that characters look back to move forward. Despite the dramatic occurrences, the film still unveils the comic book aspect with action set pieces and incredible visuals, like every Marvel fan would have wanted. Chris Pratt reprises his role as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. He's becoming the new Harrison Ford of today's generation, as he is rising to the roles of the mainstream protagonist in fantasy films. This sequel focuses more on Star-Lord's backstory and childhood, which broadens context of not just this character, but this side of the MCU. Zoe Saldana returns to a great performance as Gamora, as the sequel explores her potential romance with Star-Lord and her deadly rivalry with Sister Nebula, portrayed by Karen Gillan. The film does get personal between those two characters, as does Star-Lord's backstory, but it goes without saying that the humorous moments involving the other supporting characters are what makes the film even more enjoyable. Wrestler turned actor Dave Bautista gets funnier than ever as he returns as Drax the Destroyer, in the form of the macho masculine member of the Guardians. Bradley Cooper returns to provide the voice of Rocket Raccoon, who is probably the greatest cinematic creature since Yoda. Rocket is an extraordinary character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as is anthropomorphized greatly by his sarcastic relationship with Star-Lord, his genuine relationship with Groot, and his general masculine characteristics while in action. Michael Rooker also returns to his role as Yondu Udonta, a Ravagers leader who is an on-off member of the Guardians and a father figure to Peter Quill. Yondu's relationship with Quill gets more personal in this sequel, and Rooker went beyond the darker and sinister side that we may have seen in the first film to unveil someone completely different. There was one character that I was initially concerned about, and that was Baby Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel. Don't get me wrong, he's a great character, but the idea of a baby one seemed a bit like a cash grabber to throw in an altered version of him that may be considered adorable. I kept thinking how much of the plot and among the team would he be of great importance. But I was proved wrong, and Baby Groot turned out to be equally as brilliant and as useful as the adult Groot. Alongside those returning cast members, we were also treated to some new ones. Kurt Russell joins among the veteran actors of the MCU as he plays Ego, a character who I will only say is crucial to the film, and Sylvester Stallone stars as a high-ranking Ravager. His appearance was only minor, but that may not have been a bad thing, because after all, there are still other stories to tell, and further questions that need to be answered of how all the other characters come together, so maybe we'll get more of Stallone's character in the future. Marvel have done with Guardians of the Galaxy like what Lucasfilm have done with Star Wars. We have embarked into an extraordinary world, met some unique characters along the way, and have found identifiable connotations of drama and emotions from them. When you've got films like Guardians of the Galaxy, there isn't much more about them that can surprise you that hasn't already been shown. It may not have shown much going forward beyond the Guardians into the next stages of the MCU, but it is still certainly a fresh and exhilarating sequel to such a brilliant predecessor. I rate this film with an impressive 4 stars.